In today's video, we examine a case that was quickly labeled a suicide. What happened to the women would take years to uncover, and the truth would shock everyone involved. Mons is an old city in Belgium. When the sun goes down, the small streets get very quiet. But on October 8, 2015, all of that noise stopped. It was 8:50 p.m. when someone walking near a fancy apartment building in the city center heard a slow, sickening thud. Something dropped or a trash bag hitting the ground didn't make that sound. There was no doubt that it was the sound of a person hitting concrete. The person saw something and ran to the corner of the house. A woman was lying on the cold ground. She was only wearing underwear and a thin t-shirt. These were clothes that someone would have worn before going to bed, not when they were out in the cold on a fall night. Even though she was still living, it hurt so much to hear her screams of pain. She had almost 80 feet of fall from the 7th floor. The woman was Hannah Hove Becker, who is 32 years old. The first rescuers would show up 10 minutes later at 9 p.m. When the building doors opened, Hannah's husband came out, Craig Becker, 34 years old. He didn't sprint down the stairs, out of breath, to get to his wife and help her. He didn't do anything else but wait for the lift and write it down. When Craig got outside, he behaved in a very measured way that scared me. While other people tried to help Hannah, who was badly hurt, he was already on the phone. He wasn't calling the police or fire department. People who were there had already made the call. Craig was calling Hannah's family in Jacksonville, Florida, which is about 4,300 miles away. He spoke out loud while standing over his dying wife so that everyone could hear. His story was that Hannah had been drinking, taking pills, and making the choice to do this on her own. He told her parents this. Hannah was taken to the hospital right away, but her injuries were too bad. Doctors said she was dead later that night. When the Belgian authorities answered the call, they thought the problem was simple: having emotional problems, abusing drugs, or making a snap choice. It was only 2 hours after the event that the case was temporarily closed as a case of self-harm. At the time, no one knew that this hasty decision would lead to a 7-year search for the truth. Before we get into the full story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life crime documentaries that dive deep into the darkest and most unbelievable true stories from around the world. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss when a new case drops. Every story here reveals something new about the hidden side of human nature. And I'd really love to know, which country are you watching from? Drop it down in the comments below. It's always incredible to see how far these stories travel and connect people from every corner of the world who share the same fascination for true crime and justice. Your support truly helps keep these stories alive and remembered. Now, let's get into it. This terrible event started in Florida, which is where we need to go back. Hannah Hove Becker was born in Sweden, but grew up in charming Jacksonville, Florida, USA. All of her family members were doing well. Her father made a lot of money in transportation and lived in a fancy house by the ocean. Hannah didn't change because she was rich. She was kind and caring as a child, and she wanted to be a counselor so she could help people. Her father loved his daughter so much that he was building her a new house on the beach so she could always be close. Finding Craig Becker in college changed everything. He was very rough and tough, just like Hannah. He was a tough military man who had been trained as an explosives expert. Risk, control, and tight discipline had shaped him. The couple got together quickly. They lived together in Virginia by 2010. Hannah started her own business because she thought it would help her build the perfect family life. But behind the scenes, she was already being left alone. The first clear sign of trouble came at a time when every couple should have been very happy. Shortly after Hannah started her business, Craig told her he was taking her on a trip to Destin, Florida, a beach vacation town. The man told her she needed to rest and relax, but he couldn't go with her because of important things at the military camp. Hannah went to the hotel by herself and had no idea what was going on. But there was a knock on the door soon after she walked in. It was her best friend standing in the hall. The friend saw Hannah's surprise and smiled in a strange way before asking her to open the closet. Inside, a beautiful white wedding dress was hung. Suddenly, Hannah found out that Craig had come to Florida. That very same day, he had planned a secret wedding to happen on the beach. It sounds like a Hollywood love story, doesn't it? Two people in love, the water, and the moment. But one thing made everything different. At the service, that friend was the only person standing. The parents of Hannah were not invited. They weren't either Craig's family, no close friends or family. The Hove family, John and Hannah, found out that their daughter had gotten married after the fact. John Hove was very upset and angry. He missed out on one of the most important and stressful days in a parent's life, the chance to walk his daughter down the aisle. Craig said that the secret was necessary because of the nature of his job, which put him in constant danger and sent him to dangerous areas. He also said that he believed that life should be lived in the present. Even though it hurt, the Becker family agreed with the choice because they didn't want to bring trouble into their daughter's happiness. That surprise set the tone for their marriage. Over time, Hannah's voice and her ties to her family faded into the background as her husband took over as the leader. In 2013, Craig's work took a big step forward, which put the relationship to the test again. He was moved to Belgium to work with armed units from NATO. It was an extremely important job that could only be done by the best experts. The Becker family had to move again. Hannah left her business, her friends, and the comfortable life she had built in America to join her husband, who was in the military. Hannah wasn't ready for what she saw when she got to Mons. She found herself in a different country where she didn't know the language and didn't have any friends. When she was back in Florida, she was always with family and friends. Here, her world was limited to the flat walls. Craig was away from his wife all the time, either on duty or on long-term tasks, leaving her completely alone. Soon, they got news that should have made them happy. Hannah had a baby. Elizabeth Isabel was born on June 12, 2014. You might think that this would bring the family closer together, but Hannah's feelings of loneliness made her problems worse. She had major problems with her body image and was very depressed after the end of a bad relationship when she was in her early 20s. At that time, her health was so bad that she had to be hospitalized. These memories from her past started to come back to her now that she was away from home and didn't have anyone to help her. She started drinking to dull the rising anxiety and sense of not being worth anything she felt. Her family saw that Hannah was losing her balance more and more. Craig didn't help her, though. Instead, he used her illness against her, slowly making others see her as a troublesome wife. Hannah fell into a trap when she moved to Europe, which was sold as an exciting new phase. She found herself trapped in a pretty gold cage, and her husband was the only one with the key. Fighting doesn't always lead to cuts and scrapes. Some of the worst effects are small, daily humiliations that wear away at a person's mind over time. The curtains that fell apart soon after the couple moved to Belgium are a great example of this. Hannah bought fabric with a new friend and spent the whole day sewing curtains for the living room to make the new apartment feel like home and to feel helpful. That's what she was proud of. She came up with the idea and worked hard on making it. However, Craig's response was terrible. That's not all he did when he got home from work. He got a camera out and started recording, making a private moment embarrassing for everyone. You can hear him being sarcastic as he says he hates the curtains, wants them taken down right away, and says the fabric is the worst he's ever seen on the video. In the end, it was clear that this wasn't really about the style or color. Craig was really mad that Hannah had chosen to do something without his help. And these things are important. As an act of kindness, a loving partner might keep quiet, or they might talk about personal style in a polite way. Craig did something additional. He took pictures of his wife's confusion on purpose, as if he planned to watch them again or use them as proof that she wasn't useful. This was a classic case of gaslighting. Craig tried to coolly and carefully persuade Hannah that she was nothing without his approval, and that any wants or choices she made on her own were silly and funny. Things kept falling apart quickly in the relationship. Once more, Craig left for a long job, leaving Hannah with her daughter Isabel and a crushing sense of loss. He was also in the service and a friend of her husband's. She started messaging him during this time, when she was at her weakest. Because she wasn't getting enough human attention at home, she started to have friendly conversations that turned into a close friendship. It was more than just an affair for Hannah. She was asking for help and trying to feel living, seen, and like she mattered. Craig did what he always did when he got back, though. He came into her private space. He broke into her computer, opened her message app, and watched the video. His response was very strong. John Hove, Hannah's dad, later told police that his daughter called him one of those nights in a panic. Through the phone, she screamed that Craig was hitting her and trying to choke her. It was too late to go back after that. Hannah knew her life was in real danger, so she took Isabel and ran away to the United States to be with her parents. Her stay in Florida lasted 10 months. There was peace, time to think, and safety during that time. Her freedom seemed to have finally been attained, but Hannah made a choice in November 2014 that would kill her. Maybe it was because her husband was pressuring her, Isabel was being used against her, or she wanted to keep the whole family together for her daughter. But she changed her mind and went back to Belgium to give the marriage one more try. I hoped for a fresh start when she got back. She didn't find peace. Instead, she was put under even stricter, almost prison-like control. From now on, Craig checked her phone every night. He made it very clear that she couldn't talk to her male friends. He would not let her go anywhere by herself. The hold got stronger. To understand the chaos of that last night, we need to piece together Hannah's last day of life, one step at a time. On October 8, 2015, in the morning, she didn't look like someone who was on the edge or planned to kill herself. In fact, it was the opposite. She was planning things. That very morning, she signed the papers for a new flat. It would give her a new start in life. She wasn't going to see Craig anymore. She started a new job with a group that helped teens, and she started dating a man named Chris who worked with her. Things changed quickly and strangely in the evening, though. A string of texts from Hannah's phone to Chris were sent at 8:38 p.m., just 12 minutes before the alleged fall. Their writing is very hard to understand. A short time later, another message arrived. It said, "Craig is being so nice that I'm confused. I love him, and I love you. Honestly, he was a jerk in the past, but he's changed. He doesn't love me anymore because I'm seeing you," the last message said. It was sent at 8:39 p.m. Craig said Hannah hurt herself because of these texts that said, "I hate my life." Let's look at the facts more closely, though. She signed a lease for a new apartment that same morning, getting ready to move out with lots of plans and hope. And then, right before she died, she wrote all of a sudden about how much she hated her life and how her husbands were both loving and controlling. When we look more closely, the messages that were sent so quickly after each other don't seem like a real emotional breakdown. They read more like a badly put-together play, and Hannah may not have been the real author at all. In later texts, Craig would say that Hannah had a panic attack after hearing him on the phone with his new partner Jackie. He said that he tried to calm her down by telling her about Isabel, but she wasn't listening. There was now a timer. Sarah's body would be found on the ground 13 minutes after the last message was sent. Right after what happened, Craig Becker gave the police a clean, what seemed like a logical account of what happened that night. According to him, he got home after 7 p.m. Hannah made lasagna, and they opened a bottle of wine and ate dinner together. Craig said he only drank one glass, and that Hannah, whom he called mentally unstable, drank the rest of the bottle. He said that after that, they went to bathe Isabel. Craig told her in the bathroom that Hannah was so drunk she could hardly stand. He said that while he finished bathing their daughter, he sent her to the bedroom to lie down and sleep it off. He said that around 8:50 p.m., he heard a noise, came out of the bathroom, and saw Hannah gone out the window. He told her she had to jump head first, and without doubt. But right away, cracks started to show up in this smooth story. Let's start with what Craig did after the fall. He told the police that he dried Isabel off, put her to bed, and then went downstairs to help his seriously hurt wife. There is one troubling fact in the police report, though. Officers went into Isabel's room and found her sound asleep. Do you believe that to be true? That a very young girl who had just been bathed and was said to be the center of chaos, noise, and fast movement would fall asleep right away. The most cruel and planned part of what happened, though, happened earlier. Later, it came out that Craig had actually called the cops 2 days before his wife died. His claim in that document was that Hannah was abusing drugs and booze. Later, investigators would say that this was like setting the groundwork. He was setting up a legal safety net by carefully making up the story of a woman who was unstable and supposedly addicted to drugs. That way, when she died, the police would already have a ready-made reason for the death. In less than 24 hours after the accident, Hannah's parents got to Belgium. They were heartbroken and getting ready for the burning. They planned to bring their daughter's ashes back to Florida. Craig came over to their place and met them. He looked sad, and he did a great job of playing the heartbroken widower. His parents, who didn't know what they were about to find out, even gave him a hug to try to calm and support him. As soon as Hannah's dad, John Hove, started carefully checking out the place, that sympathy went away. He saw things that the Belgian police had either missed or not cared about because they were in a hurry to close the case. Craig said his daughter had left his bedroom window, so John Hove walked up to it and looked down. He could see clear marks, deep scratches, and gouges on the roof tiles right below the window. Craig said Hannah had jumped head first, but these marks could not be there if she had. Something was very wrong with what they said. As she fell, she landed on her feet, facing the building, and frantically clawed at the tiles to hold on. She wasn't jumping. Her fight for survival went on until the very end. This position, which experts eventually called the Spider-Man position, completely broke down Craig's version of a voluntary jump. John Hove kept looking for contrasts. One of the suitcases in the room was open and only halfway packed. There was strong proof that Hannah was getting ready to move, not die. Later, there was the phone. This girl's cell phone was on the couch in the living room. The pieces fit together into a scary picture for John Hove. This wasn't a case of a woman hurting herself emotionally. It was planned that this crime would look like a tragedy. The Belgian police had to reopen the probe after new witnesses and a lot of pressure from Hannah's parents. Biological samples that lived by chance were the key to the truth. At the hospital where Hannah was taken when she was in serious condition, doctors did what they always do and took blood samples. Those bottles kept in a lab fridge would eventually break down Craig's main defense. The findings from the forensics were shocking. Hannah had almost no alcohol in her blood. Professionals say it was about the same as one glass of wine. This proved Craig's claim that she drank the whole bottle by herself during dinner to be not only unlikely, but also completely wrong. We were just getting started, though. Investigators asked for a full hair analysis to back up Craig's claims that Hannah had been abusing booze for years. Experts can keep track of drug use over a period of months with this type of test. It was impossible to deny the outcome. For at least 6 months, Hannah had not been abusing booze. The story of the wife who was addicted to alcohol fell apart totally, but the hair test showed something else. It had traces of a strong sleeping pill. Hannah didn't have this drug with her and didn't have a prescription for it. Therefore, where did it come from? The last piece of the puzzle was put together when a captain from the base where Craig had served testified exactly what this medicine looks like. He remembered seeing Craig take a package of pink pills out of a storage cabinet on the base. Hannah had no hope. Because her medicine made her feel dizzy and unable to stand up straight, she was an easy target for someone to hurt herself. With this much proof, it seems like punishment should have come quickly. Craig was caught 4 days after the crime and held without bail because he was a flight risk. 5 months later, he was officially charged with a crime that he planned ahead of time. Then politics and the rules of the world system got in the way. As Craig was currently serving in the U.S. military, the case was transferred to the U.S. government's control. A military court was used to hear the case, and Craig was sent back to the United States. That was the start of Hannah's family's worst fear. Craig was freed from jail instead of staying there. During the next 7 years, he was free to live and work in the United States as usual in the field of removing bombs. Isabel was hit in one of the most painful ways. Even though Craig was facing very serious charges for the crime against her mother, he kept his parenting rights. Isabel was given to his parents to care for, and they took her away and stopped talking to her maternal grandmother. Hannah's parents fought in court for their daughter, but the law didn't care about their loss. The stress was too much to handle. Hannah's mother didn't make it through this never-ending fight and the clear unfairness. At the age of 69, she died of a stroke and would never see the day when the person who killed her daughter would be punished. John Hove was left by himself to deal with the fight and the loss of the people he loved. Justice is sometimes served very coldly, so the saying goes. Craig Becker's hearing didn't start until April 2022, which is almost 7 years after that terrible night in Mons. The military court heard from a lot of witnesses, including forensic toxicologists, and looked at proof that clearly showed the accused person was guilty. An easy reason that goes back to the beginning of time, loss of control and jealousy that goes too far. Craig didn't like the thought of Hannah being happy with Chris instead of him. He committed the crime as a last warning. Other people will not own you if you are not mine. Earlier police reports also came up during the hearing. Their confirmation showed that Hannah had previously reported Craig being physically violent, showing that this wasn't a one-time event, but a trend of behavior that happened over and over again. The jury's decision came down on April 30th, 2022. It was a dark and terrible irony that the date was set. She was celebrating her birthday. 19 years old would have been her birthday that day. Instead of partying and lighting candles, her family got a decision against the person who killed her. After being found guilty of a crime he planned ahead of time, Craig Becker was given a life term with the chance of parole. The case ended, but the hurt did not get better. Before the trial, Isabel lived with her father's parents. She was 18 years old when the trial ended. John Hove says that he never saw his niece again. It's over for Hannah Hove Becker. This decision, though, will always remind us of her. The verdict showed one truth that could not be denied. Even a lie that is very well put together will fall apart when the truth comes out. Thank you so much for being here today. I truly appreciate the time you take to watch these videos, and it means a lot that you choose to spend a part of your day with this channel. Your presence, whether silent or active in the comments, helps create a space where people can learn, think, and connect. Every view, every like, and every bit of support helps this community grow into something stronger and more meaningful. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. And if you'd like to be part of the conversation, you're always welcome to share your thoughts in the comments. I read as many as I can, and I value every voice that joins in. Your ideas, your feedback, and even just your presence help shape the direction of future videos. As we wrap up today's video, I just want to say thank you again for your continuous support. Take care of yourself, stay grounded, and give yourself time to rest and breathe. Life moves fast, and it's important to slow down when you can. I hope the rest of your day or night brings you peace, comfort, and something to smile about. Until we meet again in the next video, stay safe, stay kind, and I'll see you soon.